Hey, Shalom, Shalom. This is your brother Wadar of GMS Gulf Coast, and I'd like to start by giving infinite honor and prayers to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kwadash. Double honors are given up to the apostle, elders of Great Millstone, men who have labored and suffered in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I also like to send a Shalom to the hopefully elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which consists of men, women, and children in that order. Also to the apostle elders of Great Millstone, the elder bishops of Great Millstone, the elders of Great Millstone, as well as the heads of the camps of Great Millstone. And last but not least, I'd like to send a shalom to any of you Akim, not named GMS, but walk in one body and one spirit in Yahweh Shai, preaching and teaching this 100% truth as it is taught to us all, to you all, shalom. Lord willing, Abaratazah, this be edifying. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not going to be that long or this, that, and the third. Through the Spirit, it's going to be what it's going to be, But I wanted to touch on a few things as pertaining, Slacky, to the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. And just current events, overall, just current events overall. I mean, we're witnessing a lot of how should I put it? A lot of just downhill, down the drain destruction as pertaining to America and the world overall. These wars and these rumors of wars are coming into unavoidable as far as, just dining room conversations, I'm talking about sitting across the dinner table conversations. These things are unavoidable now. We're in that time where all of this is smack back in your face, And this goes to the 2/3 of our people, you so-called Black, Latinos, and Native Americans. The ones that turn a blind eye and a blind ear to the things that are happening and it's been prophesied, according to the scriptures. And they're happening day in and day out, And the men of the Lord, the voice of the Lord, which are the men of the Lord, are out there on the highways and hedges, beginning with the apostle elders on down to brothers such as myself, bringing forth this filth in what is being seen, what is being said via mainstream news platforms all the way down to alternative news platforms. These things are being explained and being given great reverence to by way of the scriptures, So, I reinforce that these things are in your face. These things are being discussed. If it ain't nothing but a 5-minute conversation at the dinner table at home with your family, they're being discussed nevertheless. And that's the will of the Lord coming to pass. Now, the subject matter at hand, I'm just going to touch on these banks, man, and going into, the bravery, the culture of bravery that this society has built its wealth off of, slave labor, forced labor, Jim Crow, not Jim Crow, but what it is, sharecropping labor, child labor, to line one another's pockets, to turn a blind eye to the atrocities that they have perpetrated against the Lord's people. You so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans have been beaten down behind bribes and backdoor closed deals between these heathens that rule over us. Now these banks are turning flip-flop, and it's just a reenactment of the late what it was, October 29, the Great Depression, 2008. What was that called? I couldn't remember the name of that. But here we are, and these things are happening more rapid and more. They're not taking the 20s to the 2000s. What that is, about an 80-year period. You follow what I'm saying? 2008. Let's say about an 80, 90-year difference. Now the last crash we had, bank run they had was during the Bush administration. And that was roughly, 2000, the end of his administration in 2008, because they got a $700-800 billion bailout at the last moment going into the Obama administration. So we're talking roughly from the 20s, late 20s, to the early 2000s, and now from the early 2000s into the 2020s. You see how quick it's coming around faster and faster, because that's just evidence that this place is finished. Crime is at an all-time high. The homeless is at an all-time high. The things that you depend on to survive week in and week out, or day in and day out, like groceries, fuel, a home, all of these things are skyrocketing, but your pay is not, because this place was founded on a all profit mentality. It was, if you own everything, then you don't have to pay for the material, you don't have to pay for the labor, so forth and so on. You see where I'm going with it. So this is what this place was founded on, and the people who rule this place could never stray far from that blueprint. So that's why everything is going up except for your wages. You understand? And they're going to go back to child labor. These things, there's nothing that's new under the sun. Pursuant to Ephesians 1 and 9. There's nothing new under the sun. But anyway, I'm going to play this quick clip right here. Going into the foundation of the FDIC, founded, I think in 1933, about 4 years after the stock market crash of October 29. So these red devils, pre-plan everything in advance, because they know they'll be crossing that bridge later. And what happened in October 29? There was a bank run. What you're starting to see now is a bank run. So the FDIC was created to alleviate that. Anyway, let's play this real quick.
WEAF, New York. Speaking to you at this time from the Oval Room of the White House in Washington, D.C. Through the facilities of its combined networks from coast to coast, the National Broadcasting Company is about to bring you an address by the Chief Executive of the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My friends, I want to talk for a few minutes with the people of the United States about banking. To talk with the comparatively few who understand the mechanics of banking, but more particularly with the overwhelming majority of you who use banks for the making of deposits and the drawing of checks. I want to tell you what has been done in the last few days and why it was done and what the next steps are going to be. I recognize that the many proclamations from state capitals and from Washington, the legislation, the Treasury regulations, and so forth, couched for the most part in banking and legal terms, ought to be explained for the benefit of the average citizen. I owe this in particular because of the fortitude and the good temper with which everybody has accepted the inconvenience and the hardships of the banking holiday. And I know that when you understand what we in Washington have been about, I shall continue to have your cooperation as fully as I have had your sympathy and your help during the past week. First of all, let me state the simple fact that when you deposit money in a bank, the bank does not put the money into a safe deposit vault. It invests your money in many different forms of credit, in bonds, in commercial paper, in mortgages, and in many other kinds of loans. In other words, the bank puts your money to work to keep the wheels of industry and of agriculture turning round. A comparatively small part of the money that you put into the bank is kept in currency, an amount which in normal times is wholly sufficient to cover the cash needs of the average citizen. In other words, the total amount of all the currency in the country is only a comparatively small proportion of the total deposits in all the banks of the country. What then happened during...
Now, what he's saying is that in retrospect, you go out and make a paycheck, right? And you go and deposit your money into the bank, and they take that money and reintroduce it into their economy. Loans, mortgages, and industry, and so forth and so on. Only a small portion of what you put in the bank that you think that you have in the bank is actually being kept in currency, quote unquote. You follow what I'm saying? Just in case you need to come back and get a few $100s for groceries or a flat tire or a vacation or whatever the case, whatever you got, So that shows that your worth is no more than what you're able to bring them. You understand? This has always been the concept of these people. Your worth is only as much as you can bring back to the table. You live the fantasy of this and that, having a 401k and this and that. Haven't you seen in the past that these things have crashed? And what it was back in the Bush administration, Enron, when they crashed, man, all the investors that was the people who had stock in Enron that worked it, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars, some homes and loans and 401k. Because none of this belongs to you. You are the commodity. And they've been running the same Ponzi scheme on the American citizen the whole time. Now it's getting shorter and shorter. But let me not keep interrupting. Let me let him speak, and we'll move to the next one.
During the last few days of February and the first few days of March, because of undermined confidence on the part of the public, there was a general rush by a large portion of our population to turn bank deposits into currency or gold. A rush so great that the soundest banks couldn't get enough currency to meet the demand. The reason for this was that on the spur of the moment, it was of course impossible to sell perfectly sound assets of a bank and convert them into cash except at panic prices far below their real value. By the afternoon of March 3rd, a week ago last Friday, scarcely a bank in the country was open to do business. Proclamations closing them in whole or in part had been...
And what's going on with Silicon Valley over there? They said they have another branch, I think, in San Francisco, and they're voting all their people who bank at Silicon Valley to go to San Francisco. They're scarcely, they closed, they've crashed. These scenarios are not new, but when you don't pay attention, when you do not take into consideration what the past has to teach you, has to offer you, then you become the stupid, you become the dolt. And that's what these people be betting on, you being a dolt. You looking for Javante Davis walking around with a purse on, I'm talking about Kyrie Irving, talking about the small hats. What his name, Kanye West, and all these control oppositions to keep you distracted from the miscellaneous things that they're doing. But let them keep going. Slack you.
Had been issued by the governors in almost all of the states. It was then that I issued the proclamation providing for the national bank holiday. And this was the first step in the government's reconstruction of our financial and economic fabric. The second step, last Thursday, was the legislation promptly and patriotically passed by the Congress, confirming my proclamation and broadening my powers so that it became possible, in view of the requirement of time, to extend the holiday and lift the ban of that holiday gradually in the days to come. law also gave authority to develop a program of rehabilitation of our banking facilities. And I want to tell our citizens in every part of the nation that the National Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, showed by this action a devotion to public welfare and a realization of the emergency and the necessity for speed that it is difficult to match in all our history. The third stage has been the series of regulations permitting the banks to continue their functions, to take care of the distribution of food and household necessities and the payment of payrolls.
Stop right there. See that? The third step, now they're getting around to you. You follow? The miscellaneous things, you understand? But the big things, they have to keep their corporation, they have to keep their industry going. And so in the end, when they have taken care of all of that, they'll throw you back the pennies and whatnot that you have earned. So you're always expendable. Now, leading to the future, they're going to cut out these banks and you're going to be the end all be all. They're going to merge you with machine. You know, you'll be given credits and you'll be able to use your body as the mechanism that is money nowadays. You know what I'm talking about? That's what that's leading to. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. They're going to merge you with that. They're going to get rid of this money altogether because guess what? The so-called gold that is the money is supposed to be backed by is no longer there. They've hoarded all that to themselves. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm talking about the elites. So the only alternative is to make you the primary, to make you the goal and get rid of money altogether. And they're doing this right before our face. They're doing this. These are steps. These are not incidents and accidents and things that they trying to lead you to believe that this is the case. Why does this keep happening? Lehman Brothers, Morgan Stanley, they had this bill passed too big to fail. You know what I'm talking about? Why was that passed? And then you have Silicon Bank over here failing. It ain't been 10 years later. Let's see, 18. Yes, it has been 18. It's been about 14, 15 years later. You got a bank. You got a major bank that fails, and this bank in particular funds what? Entrepreneurs, technology, and things of that such stuff. So they're shutting these things down. They're shutting down the money flow for the entrepreneurs, the middle class, technology, and things of that sort there. Can you see the bigger picture? They're shutting these things down to force you into you being the money. You follow? You gonna be the money. Anyway, let's keep going.
This bank holiday, while resulting in many cases in great inconvenience, is affording us the opportunity to supply the currency necessary to meet the situation. Remember that no sound bank is a dollar worse off than it was when it closed its doors last week. Neither is any bank which may turn out not to be in a position for immediate opening. The new law allows the 12 Federal Reserve banks to issue additional currency on good assets, and thus the banks that reopen will be able to meet every legitimate call.
Now, mind you, the 12 Federal Reserve banks, which, which hold the copy of your original birth certificate, you do the research, your loan copy to your birth certificate, which in retrospect, they issue out a Social Security number. If you can look at the back of your Social Security card, you'll see, is it Social Security card? It may be the birth certificate. No, I think it's Social Security card where it starts off with a capital letter and then a number, That's the Federal Reserve Bank that holds your loan copy of your birth certificate. You only get a duplicate copy when you leave the hospital. See, they already had these things in play. They have already had these things in play. You already owned. And this is just making it that much easier by shutting down these banks and pushing the agenda of making you the currency. Like I say, pursuant to Revelations 13 and 16, the MTOB. You know what that synonym means. You know what I'm talking about? This is what they're pushing to. You know, with these wars and rumors of war, crime at an all-time high. It'll be easier to track in and every one once they can push and make that the thing to be. Anyway, just keep going.
The new currency is being sent out by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in large volume to every part of the country. It is sound currency because it is backed by actual good assets. Another question that you will ask is this: why are all the banks not to be reopened at the same time? The answer is simple, and I know you will understand it. Your government does not intend that the history of the past few years shall be repeated. We do not want and will not have another epidemic of bank failures. As a result, we start tomorrow, Monday, with the opening of banks in the 12 Federal Reserve bank cities. Those banks which on first examination by the Treasury have already been found to be all right. That will be followed on Tuesday by the resumption of all other functions by banks already found to be sound in cities where there are recognized clearinghouses. That means about 250 cities of the United States. In other words, we're moving as fast as the mechanics of the situation will allow us.
Wind up to the present day, they are still on that same plan. They are still on that same plan. Notice he ain't telling you where these banks are, these Federal Reserve banks are. But they have been found to be good because guess what? That's not a part of your government. That is owned by a private entity, the people who actually fund the governments. It goes back to the people who lobby the governments. You follow what I'm saying? The World Economic Forum, the IMF, these are not government appointed officials. These are very, 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 very wealthy private individuals that actually run things. You just been sold a pipe dream to think that Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan and both the Bushes and all the presidents, you have been goaded to believe that they actually run something. No, they don't. They're issued orders. They have a boss. And behind the scenes, these very wealthy individuals, private citizens of planet Earth, they don't necessarily be here in Babylon the Great, a.k.a. America. They are the ones who run things. They are the ones the earth has been given into their hands. Them.
On Wednesday and succeeding days, banks in smaller places all through the country will resume business, subject, of course, to the government's physical ability to complete its survey. It is necessary that the reopening of banks be extended over a period in order to permit the banks to make applications for the necessary loans, to obtain currency needed to meet their requirements, and to enable the government to make common sense checkups. Please let me make it clear to you that if your bank does not open the first day, you are by no means justified in believing that it will not open. A bank that opens on one of the subsequent days is in exactly the same status as the bank that opens tomorrow. I know that many people are worrying about state banks that are not members of the Federal Reserve System. There is no occasion for that worry. These banks can and will receive assistance from member banks and from the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. And of course, they are under the immediate control of the state banking authorities. These state banks are following the same course as the national banks, except that they get their licenses to resume business from the state authorities. And these authorities have been asked by the Secretary of the Treasury to permit their good banks to open up on the same schedule as the national banks. And so I am confident that the state banking departments will be as careful as the national government in the policy relating to the opening of banks and will follow the same broad theories. It is possible that when the banks resume, a very few people who have not recovered from their fear may again begin withdrawals. Let me make it clear to you that the banks will take care of all needs, except, of course, the hysterical demands of hoarders. And it is my belief that
except for the extreme measures of hoarders. Now, if that ain't the kennel calling the pot black, because all of the assets that are supposed to be backed, that these dollars are supposed to be backed by, been hoarded to the very top. The one of the 1% have hoarded all things unto himself. And now this is a speech given back in 1933 by Roosevelt.
hoarding during the past week has become an exceedingly unfashionable pastime in every part of our nation. It needs no prophet to tell you that when the people find that they can get their money, that they can get it when they want it for all legitimate purposes, the phantom of fear will soon be...
You can get your money for legitimate purposes. They put an emphasis on how you should be able to get your money. You know, these are games that these people play. But the average citizen, and you know what? To hell with the average citizens of the United States. To hell with you. You understand? Very evil times come upon you, you know. But to you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you follow in the footsteps of these fools. You believe in this society. You believe in this so-called democracy. That all of the wrath of the Lord that's coming down on this place, you very well deserve. Lord willing, we of the 1/3, the hopeful elect, we escape the Lord's wrath. We take heed to what's being done, what's being said, and through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we take the necessary precautions and avenues by being led by the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua to avoid these things, Lord willing.
Be laid. People will again be glad to have their money where it will be safely taken care of and where they can use it conveniently at any time. I can assure you, my friends, that it is safer to keep your money in a reopened bank than it is to keep it under the mattress. The success of our whole national program depends, of course, on the cooperation of the public, on its intelligent support.
That is right there. That's the point I wanted to get to. I've always said that this government only floats because you believe in it. You believe in it is the only reason that this Ponzi scheme has ran on as long as it has. And with that, I'm finished with that. And this is going into the FDIC. History of the FDIC. Let's see. It's lucky I didn't mean to pull out of that. Anyway, let me see. I think I had a video real quick, Bob Shaw.
Concealed Carry Association.
At least some of those steps that got us to this point.
Of course, a lot more news expected over the weekend as well. Let's get a little bit more insight on the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the role the FDIC, is going to play going forward. Joining us now from San Francisco is Bloomberg's Priya Anand. She's currently at a SVB bank trying to talk to those customers. Priya, we've heard now that the FDIC is expected to take over, I believe, on Monday. Walk us through the timeline here. What are next steps?
Well, I think a lot of the industry is waiting to find out what those next steps look like for them. People are still figuring things out.
Now, we just listened to Franklin D. Roosevelt speak about those steps. If you happen to be listening to this video, go back, pause the video, and go back and listen to the steps that he laid out in 1933. The one thing about this devil is that he will put things on the record. You know, his behavior has been recorded. That's why I say you got to check his track record. You check his track record. Go back and listen to what's been laid down as law 7, 8 decades prior. That is what they're enforcing right here in the present day. So it's no mystery the steps that the FDIC is going to take, because if you Google that was the formation of the creation of the FDIC, so that they can alleviate these bank runs. So anyway, let's keep going.
In their lobby of.
What are next steps?
Well, I think a lot of the industry is waiting to find out what those next steps look like for them. I'm in their lobby of their San Francisco office, which is more of an office as opposed to a branch. And there's a very slow trickle of customers coming in. The office, it seems like nobody's up there right now, but there's a very slow trickle of customers coming in, and they have a sign posted with their address for the Palo Alto branch on Sand Hill Road, and they're telling folks to go over there. And we have colleagues out there as well looking to talk to customers. And people right now are just wondering what will happen to their funds. I've been speaking with investors all day, venture capitalists all day, who are working with their portfolio companies to figure out what this might mean for them. There are concerns I've heard around making payroll for some startups in this industry because they may have had cash sitting with SVB that they used for payroll, and that could very well be over $250K. So I think right now there's a lot of shock in the tech industry. I have been texting and speaking on the phone with investors all morning, as I was all day yesterday. And this morning I messaged someone and said, what happens now? I messaged a venture capitalist who has a long history in the industry, and he responded and said pandemonium. And I don't want to make it sound alarmist, but there are a lot of people wondering what happens now. This year was already looking very tough for startups in a tougher funding environment. Startups constantly need...
Startups, what's that? The middle class, the entrepreneurs, the tech industry, you know, I'm talking about all the little new gadgets and whatnot. They're eliminating that, putting it all in the hands of the bureaucrats, the 1%ers, governmental hands. So when they say, okay, it's over with that, now they can actually force you to merge with the machines, you know what I'm talking about? And implement Revelations 13 and 16, the MTOB. This is not rocket science.
To raise money to keep going. And I've posed this question to everyone I've talked to today. You know, this seems like it's a very ominous sign in a year that people already thought was going to be tough, and nobody has disputed that. It seems like a very ominous sign for an industry that was already wondering what this year was going to look like.
Is such sobering context, but really insightful, Priya. And maybe we should just remind people about how things have been unfolding. I mean, the good times within the tech industry just a couple of years ago helped to fuel the rise of Silicon Valley Bank. And it does appear that with all that capital coming in, there were some calculations made, I suppose, on whether or not interest rates would make a big move, and when ultimately that seemed to go against their own beliefs, then that forced this issue that we've been talking about this week, the reality of selling some of their securities at a loss to raise capital, the news about the stock sale, and the reaction within the VC community, their concerns around maintaining capital, very influential VCs speaking to their portfolio companies about getting out. Priya, can you just walk us through at least some of those steps that got us to this point that you've been reporting on?
Yeah, I mean, well, so like you said, the past couple of years, money was flowing very easily in Silicon Valley. People were raising at very high valuations. Companies with, you know, sometimes sound business models, sometimes not, were easily able to raise boatloads of funds. That all sort of started to grind to a halt last year. And since yesterday, the last 24 hours in particular, it seems like venture capitalists and their portfolio companies have been in a mad dash to figure out, or were until today, throughout yesterday in a mad dash to figure out over the course of yesterday, should we have our companies move money out of Silicon Valley Bank? Should we have faith?
Makes you wonder, those billions and billions of dollars they're sending down to Ukraine, and those those checks that they was passing out since the end of the Trump administration. What those stimulus checks and whatnot. $6 trillion deal here and a 2-3 trillion deal there. Then they're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. Let's not even mention Israel, the land of Israel, or that state of Israel, Slocky. They get an annual budget of 30-some-odd $billion. You follow what I'm saying? And then it wasn't a couple of months ago they were talking about the United States is in over his head $30-some-odd trillion in debt. But see, the average American not keeping up with this because they working on it. Like I said, they waiting on the next episode of Power, starring Mary J. Blige and what's that other rapper name? Can't think of his name. You know what I'm talking about? They waiting on things like this. You know, they living in an apartment. You know, talking about buying used Mercedes Benzes and Porsche trucks and shit. You know, so of course that these people are mismanaging the house. When I say mismanaging the house, I'm talking about America, the world, and it's going right over the heads of the people that's most importantly need to know. Because they worried about the old Michael Jordan shoes that's going to go up for sale for $1 billion that he wore at when he got his 6th ring and all that old type of foolishness. You know what I'm talking about? These different reality shows where they got rappers, they hosting rappers and they buying stuff that's priceless. What's the meaning? What's the definition of priceless? You follow what I'm saying? This is where our people minds are. Just like in ancient Rome in that movie Gladiator, where Commodus had 150 days worth of games to throw off the people's mind and him just murdering his damn father. Distractions.
Is speaking out tonight after his car stereo shop was raided by a group of thieves who broke in through the roof. He says they got away with more than $100,000 worth of equipment. KTVU's Amber Lee joins us now. She's live in Oakland tonight after speaking with that owner who's frustrated with the lack of police patrolling that area. Amber.
Julie, the shop owner tells me he's feeling helpless as his business and others are being hit by thieves. In each case, the thieves are breaking in through the roof. This surveillance video shows the thieves breaking in by climbing down 2 ladders after they cut a hole in the roof of the Sound Factory, an auto alarm and stereo business in Oakland's Fruitvale district.
It's terrible because what I say, we lose a lot of money right here. The whole loss is over $150,000. That's what all my life here.
Owner Jose Torres says he has been in business here for 33 years without a problem. But on July 17, around 1 o'clock in the morning, a brazen burglary. 3 thieves broke into the business, stole items including car stereo and alarm equipment, and 3 cars.
And open up the roof right there, and whoever jumps, they jump and fell up right here in this part right here. All this was on the floor when I came in.
Torres shows us the vehicle the thieves damaged when they pulled out of the garage with the cars they were stealing. One by one, the thieves drove out, forcibly pushing the vehicle parked at the gate out of the way.
But it went down some more police in the area and taking care of all the neighbors, taking care of the businesses. I'm hungry and I'm frustrated, but we can do nothing about it.
Torres says his shop was one of at least 3 in the area burglarized the same way in the month of July. Across the street at American Auto Repair, thieves broke in by cutting a hole in the roof. Just earlier this month, thieves broke into a strip mall in Little Saigon, also by cutting a hole in the roof.
Every night I'm looking at my phone to see if something happened in my shop. I can't sleep right now. If this type of problems continue, we have to sell the property, sell whatever, my business, and going out of town, going somewhere else. This place is dangerous now.
Torres tells me whether he moves his business out of Oakland depends on how much he can recoup with insurance and if these types of burglaries continue in his neighborhood. I've reached out to Oakland police but have not heard back. Julie?
So many residents and business owners feeling the same frustrations. Amber.
Hey, hey, and that's the end all be all. We're going to run all these, you know what I'm saying, the police You know, the crime is at an all-time high. You know, I just throw that in as a little caveat, you know, because that's in California as well. You follow what I'm saying? Now, he's talking about getting insurance payouts to try to get, you know, to recoup his business and whatnot. But the way these banks are collapsing, how, you know, can you see how is that possible? I mean, I'm not saying it ain't, you know, but I say that to say this. One thing is connected to another, no matter how small it is. These people control it. They're out to control the very minute little things that you do individually. So, you know, anyway, I'm gonna grab a few precepts and I'm gonna close out dealing with these clowns, you know. If it'll pull up. I'm gonna start it off with Job, let's see, 15, real quick. Real quick. I'm gonna just grab a few precepts because see, what we have witnessed and what we hear, the things that we tolerate or endure as the hopeful elect, because 2/3 of our people are destined to be put to death. Lord willing, we're not a part of that, you know, including the apostle elders, you know, the 1/3, the hopeful elect, the 1/3 nation of Israel, you know, various GMS counts, bishop, elders, heads, Akim with the same walk spirit, you know, that embody that 100% truth, you know, Lord willing, you know, we don't have to, we don't endure the Lord's wrath, and we actually see and take in consideration what we're seeing. And this is Job really going into the congregation talking about the Israelites. You follow what I'm saying? It says, for the congregation, this is Job 15 and 34, for the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bravery. And, you know, and that's going back to our evil men of Israel, you know, going back into the Maccabees, who sought out to make a pact, to make a contract with the heathens round about us, to take these bribes. You understand what I'm saying? That have ultimately got us in a rock and a hard spot. But to the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, they're going to wake up to the notion that there's no power but the power of Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Salakia. Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son. And we're not to take no bribes, none of the above, you know what I'm saying, like these politicians have done, as giving power over to these elitist banks that print the currency, that rule the people, that rule the governments, that rule the world. They have conceived mischief and bring forth vanity, and their bellies prepare deceit. That's all this is, because the deceit that's going to be brought about is that you make that bank run, man, there ain't nothing done anyway. Those banks don't have no money in them per se. You know, all that's is numbers and you know, digital numbers and whatnot. You know, receipts. That's basically what that is nowadays. You know, they're getting rid of this clumsy, flumsy money. This has become a thing of the past. So I can't mean to go out of that. This is becoming a thing of the past. And moving on to the next step of the game. Let's see. It was another I was looking for. That ain't it though. Let's see. Let's go to Proverbs real quick. Let's deal with this bribery. Cause Jake quick to take a bribe. You know. Well, of course Esau, Edom. That's all they're about, bribery. You know. What you think all that is? That lobbying is about? This is Proverbs 17 and 23. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. You know, going into that bribery, a wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. Can't be straight up about nothing. Where he can see he can line his pockets, You trust in these politicians, these so-called Negro politicians and whatnot. Kamala Harris and some of these civil rights activists that walk with Dr. King, they didn't pass here, here in the past, year or so, You believe in these clowns, man. These clowns are set up, smooth, bald face, snake in the grass characters, man. They look just like you and me. But they getting their consolation, as they walk and talk on this side, These are those wicked ass men back in the Maccabees, man. Let's go and make a pact with the heathens that are round about us, taking them bribes. So they can have their people in subjection. These same wicked men and women are back today. This is Proverbs 29 and 9 and 4, and it reads, the king by judgment established the land, but he that receiveth gifts overthrow it. Huh? The king by judgment established the land. What kind of judgment has we been rendered here? Injustice, But he that receiveth gifts overthrow it. The land was established by injustice over here. And then to try to quell all the uprisings throughout the generations, what they did, they gave you gifts. Now the majority of our people, man, are just sellouts. Uncaged beasts. Because they don't practice laws and statutes commandments. And if you're not practicing laws, statutes, commandments, you're likened onto a heathen. And a heathen will do, eat, anything. A beast. They should call it what it is, Just call it what it is. Let's see. This is Isaiah 1 and 23, and it reads, it says, thy princes are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts, bribes, loveth gifts. The things that you have to do in order to survive, to actually, I ain't gonna say survive, to get ahead over here. You know what I'm talking about? Puff Daddy. This thing come out about Puff Daddy and what his name? Clive Reeve or something. What's his name? God dang, I was just reading that today. Clive. This big time small hat producer, what I'm talking about, who's basically over the music industry over here, you know what I'm saying? He brung out Whitney Houston and Puff and a bunch of other artists, you know what I'm talking about? He's always in the background. Small hat, Clive, whatever his name is. And they were going in on the man on man relationship between him and how Puff Daddy, that's how he was actually springboarded his company into superstardom, the Bad Boys record label. Whatever his name, Joe's Clives, whatever his name. The things that you got to do over here, man, to separate yourself from the rest of your people, you know what I'm talking about, so you can live the illusion of being comfortable, Because when it's all said and done, man, they're going to liken you, or they're going to put your ass all together just like they're going to do the rest of us that look alike. They're going to put you all in one goddamn bucket any damn way when it's all said and done. Cops alike, all of you. That's unrighteous. That's not righteous. I ain't to say that there ain't righteous cops. Now, I'm not saying that now, if they jakes. But the majority of you ain't. And when it's all said and done, you'll be held in derision that consented to these people. The ones that consented with these people, you're going to still be held in derision. Thus says the scriptures. Anyway, this is Isaiah 1 and 23. It says, thy princes are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts and followed afterwards, and they follow after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither do it they cause, neither do it the cause of the widows come unto them. Man, they preach that old what that is, single parent household. You know what I'm talking about? They don't touch on none of it. They can care less about any of that. Because guess what? If you ain't got the father now, that's and you know, for you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, they got damn jail cells already lined up with a cell with your name on it. So it's still profit for them. And who helping to facilitate that? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, especially you so-called politicians, well-to-do entertainers and sports figures. Disgusting, man. Disgusting. But, you know, it's all good. It's all good. Enjoy it. This is Isaiah 5:21. It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their bosom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. And this go for you 2/3 of our people, first and foremost. First and foremost, these devils, these so-called white folks, they gonna get what's coming to them. Oh yes, they're not gonna get away with nothing. And so the same word goes out to 2/3 of our people. You understand? You're not gonna get away with nothing. With all that deceitful and mockery and that we are the world spirit, you're gonna pay for that when it's all said and done. You're gonna pay dearly for that when it's all said and done. I'm gonna close out with this. It's been going on a little long. I just want to touch on a few things. This is Micah 3:8, and it says, will a man rob Yahweh? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings? And it's going to you wicked, you know what I'm saying? And this can go for you wicked jakes that know your Israels as well, you know. Perverting the laws of, you know, taking gifts, taking these 501c3s, these bribes, man, just going back into bribery. All of this is going to collapse. It's going to be a systematic thing. And these jakes, you know, they private jets, and they may not have private jets, but you know when you go on their channels and whatnot, they got jets where they flying all over the world and this and that. All of that's going to come crashing down with this man's society, and you're going to know then that you're in a pot of hot water. You've been that stubborn frog. As the temperature was turned up, your ass ain't have sense enough to jump out that pot. Now you're going to boil to death. It says, ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even these whole nations. Bring ye all the tithes into the stone house, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that shall not be room enough to receive it. Verse 11, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sake, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruits before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be a delicate, a delight stone, a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. Your words have been shout against me, saith the Lord Yahweh. Yet ye say, what have we spoken so much against thee? And in the end, like I say, only the 1/3 of the nation of Israel is going to get what's coming to them as far as the judgment in which their sins have been blotted out. But the rest of you all, with all this bribery and this taking up of gifts and whatnot, there'll be no, that's not going to be a good ending to your story. That's not going to be a good ending to your story. I thought it might have been one or two more that I can look up. I'm gonna grab this real quick. This is Deuteronomy 16 and 19. It says, "Thou shalt not twist judgment. Thou shalt not respect person, neither take a gift, for a gift doeth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous." Pervert the words, how you saying and making up shit to try to get people to go along with the agenda of the people who giving you the gift. You understand? This is what this does to you. Without, as a matter of fact, that's just what it does. Won't have you saying the name of the Lord, I'm talking about, Most High, blessed in Christ and all that old crap, you know what I'm talking about? Because of those gifts, like I say, when this place crashed, and you see in the beginning of it, what they gonna say then? And all you who follow them, you better wake up quick, fast, and hurry. Get up out that proud state of mind. This is Deuteronomy 10 and 17. For the Lord Yahweh, your power is power of gods and Lord of lords, a great power, a mighty and terrible, which regardeth not person, nor taketh reward. You can't bribe the Lord. You go into some of these little shops and whatnot, these Koreans and these Chinese folks who selling donuts and whatnot, they got a little Buddha sitting down there with incense and stuff burning around them. They got a cup of coffee and a donut given. you can't do high power like that. He ain't studying none of that. And mind you, that damn wooden Buddha ain't doing nothing but sitting there, to my getting incense smut on him. He can't eat, drink, hear, and do nothing, Yeah. You gotta wake up. Like Spike Lee said in Higher Learning, wake up. Better wake up. Because your time is closing. I'm going to close out with this one. It's been going on long enough. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 25, and it reads, 27, 25. It says, "Cursed be he that taketh reward to slay the innocent person. And all the persons shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that confirmeth not all the words of this law to do them. And all the people shall say, Amen." Lord willing, we will be saying amen if we get beamed or we get chosen to get up out of here. Hey, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, double honors to the Apostle, Elders, Great Millstone, Shalom.